Alright, up here I have my 5 amber clearance lights. They are not cracked or broken. They are properly mounted and secured to my cab. Here I have my headlights. They're white in color. They're properly mounted and secured to my hood. They are not cracked or broken. And they have 2 functions, high and low beam. Here I have my side light and reflector. They're properly mounted and secured to my hood. They're not cracked or broken. And they have 3 functions, running, turning, and hazard. Down here, I have no hanging wires or hoses. There's no leaks, and my truck is not leaning to the left or the right, indicating a service issue. Alright, over here we have my coolant reservoir. It is properly mounted and secured to my radiator. It is not cracked or broken. There are no leaks. Here I have my hand-tight cap with a good rubber seal. It is no leaks. Here I have my fluid indicator to indicate proper fluid level. Here I have my coolant hose. It is properly mounted and secured at both ends. There are no abrasions, bubbles, or cuts, and there are no leaks. Moving down to here, I have my radiator hose. I have one here and one up top over here. They are both properly mounted and secured, 2 at each end, with no abrasions, bubbles, or cuts, and no leaks. Okay, over here I have my engine oil fill. It is properly mounted and secured to my engine and my frame. No leaks. I have a hand-tight cap with a good rubber seal. No leaks. Dipstick to verify proper fluid levels. I have my power steering reservoir. It is properly mounted and secured to my frame. It is not bent, cracked, or broken. No leaks. I have a hand-tight cap with a good rubber seal. No leaks. I have a dipstick to verify proper fluid levels. Down here, I have my power steering hoses. Properly mounted and secured at both ends. No abrasions, bubbles, or cuts. And no leaks. Over here, I have my air lines. They are properly mounted and secured at both ends. There are no abrasions, bubbles, and cuts, and there are no audible leaks. Over here, in here, I have my engine hoses. There are no abrasions, bubbles, or cuts. There are no leaks, and properly mounted and secured at each end. I have my engine and transmission back here. No leaks. Okay, here I have my steering gearbox. It is properly mounted and secured to my frame. It is not bent, cracked, or broken. It is not leaking. There are no missing hardware, and it is gear driven and internally greased. I have my gearbox hoses properly mounted and secured at each end. No abrasions, bubbles, or cuts, no leaks. Alright, here I have my tire. It is evenly worn. It is properly mounted and secured to my wheel. There are no abrasions, bubbles, or cuts. There are no audible leaks. It is evenly worn. The tread depth can be no less than 4/32 of an inch and must be checked with a commercial tread depth gauge. The tire itself, the air pressure itself can be no less than 100 pounds and must be checked with a commercial air pressure gauge. And it cannot be recapped. Alright, here I have my wheel. It is properly mounted and secured to my axle, and it is properly mounted and secured to my axle. It is not bent, cracked, or broken. There are no illegal welds. I have my lug nuts properly mounted and secured to my axle and my wheel. There are no missing hardware. They're not cracked or broken. There's no rust trails indicating loose nuts, and no shiny shaving metals to indicate over tightening. Down here I have my air valve stem. It is properly mounted and secured to my wheel. It is not bent or broken, has a hand-tight cap, and no audible leaks. In here I have my pitman arm. I have my drag link. I have my upper control arm. They are not bent, cracked, or broken. They are properly mounted and secured at each end with castle nut and cotter pin, and internally greased on each end. Down here I have my lower control arm. I have one on each side, and my tie rod. They are not bent, cracked, or broken. They are properly mounted and secured on each end with castle nut and cotter pin, and they are internally greased on each end. Okay, I have my spring mounts. I have one up here and one back here. They are properly mounted and secured to my frame. They are not bent, cracked, or broken, with no missing hardware. I have my leaf springs. They are properly mounted and secured on each end. They are not cracked or broken. There is no debris and no scissoring. Okay, as you can see, I have no airbags up here, but I do have a shock absorber right here. It is not bent, cracked, or broken. It is properly mounted and secured to my frame and my U-bolts, and it is no leaks. Okay, here I have my brake line. It is properly mounted and secured on both ends. There are no abrasions, bubbles, or cuts, and there are no audible leaks. Here I have my ABS line. It is properly mounted and secured at each end. There are no cut, frayed, or exposed wires. Okay, and in here I have my brake shoes and brake drum. They are properly mounted and secured to my axle. There is no oil, grease, or debris. Alright, here I have my side light. It is properly mounted and secured to the side of my cab. It is amber in color, and it has two functions, turning and hazard. Here I have my utility light. It is properly mounted and secured to the back of my cab. It is white in color. Up here I have my white reflective lenses, or reflectors. They are properly mounted and secured to the back of my cab. They're white in color, and it's 100%. And they're clean, clear, and visible. Up here I have my mirrors. They're properly mounted and secured to my mirror brackets. They are clean, clear, and visible. There's no debris, free from illegal stickers. And they are not cracked or broken. Here I have my mirror brackets. They are not bent, cracked, or broken, and they are properly mounted and secured to my door, my cab, and my hood. Alright, here I have my battery box and battery box cover. My battery box is properly mounted and secured to my frame. It is not bent, cracked, or broken. Inside I have 4 wet batteries. They are properly mounted and secured to my battery box. They are not cracked or broken, and there is no leaks. I have my battery cables, which are properly mounted and secured on each end. There is no corrosion, no cut, frayed, or exposed wires. And down here there are no leaks. Over here I have my fuel tank. It is properly mounted and secured to my frame with 2 metal straps and a rubber lining to prevent metal-to-metal contact. My fuel tank is not bent, cracked, or broken. No leaks. I have my fuel cap. It's hand tight with a good rubber seal. No leaks. I have my fuel sensor. Properly mounted and secured to my tank. Properly mounted and secured on each end. Scratch the tank. It's properly mounted and secured on each end. No cut, frayed, or exposed wires. I have my fuel overflow. Properly mounted and secured at each end. No abrasions, bubbles, or cuts. And no leaks. Over here I have my DEF tank. Properly mounted and secured to my frame. It is not bent, cracked, or broken. No leaks. DEF cap, hand tight with a good rubber seal. No leaks. I have my DEF sensors. Properly mounted and secured at each end. No cut, frayed, or exposed wires. My DEF hoses. Properly mounted and secured at each end. No abrasions, bubbles, or cuts, and no leaks. I have my air supply connector. Properly mounted and secured to my cab. Not bent, cracked, or broken. No audible leaks. I have my air hoses. Red for emergency, blue for service. They're properly mounted and secured at each end with no abrasions, bubbles, or cuts. No audible leaks. Over here I have my glad hand and glad hand connectors. They are properly mounted and secured to the nose of my trailer. They are not bent, cracked, or broken, with a good rubber seal. No audible leaks. Here I have my electrical connector. Properly mounted and secured to the back of my truck and the nose of my trailer with safety latches. They are not bent, cracked, or broken. No missing pins and no debris. Here I have my electrical cable, properly mounted and secured at each end with safety latch. No cut, frayed, or exposed wires. Up here I have my tension spring, properly mounted and secured to the back of my cab and my hoses. They're not bent, cracked, or broken. And they are there to keep my hoses and lines off my catwalk. Down here, I have my apron and inside my kingpin. It cannot be seen because I'm hooked up. Not bent, cracked, or broken. Properly mounted and secured to my trailer cross members. Back in here I have my locking jaw and pin. Not bent, cracked, or broken. Properly mounted and secured to my fifth wheel. And right now my locking jaw is in the lock position. Here I have my safe pivot pin, safety plate, and security bolts. They are properly mounted and secured to my fifth wheel on each side. Properly greased. Here I have my release arm. It is properly mounted and secured to my fifth wheel with no missing hardware, and it is in the lock position. Here I have my platform. It is properly mounted and secured to my platform mount, and my platform mount is and they are properly mounted and secured to my frame. They are not bent, cracked, or broken, and they with no illegal welds. No missing hardware. Okay, here's my landing gear. Oh, wait a minute. Okay, here I have my tractor and trailer frame and cross members. They are properly mounted and secured from the front of my truck to the back of my trailer. They are not bent, cracked, or broken. There are no illegal welds, no missing hardware, and no rust. And in here, where my fifth wheel meets my apron, there is no visible daylight. Here I have my landing gear frame. It is properly mounted and secured to my cross members. It is not bent, cracked, or broken. No illegal welds. I have my landing gear leg here. It is properly mounted and secured to my landing gear frame. Not bent, cracked, or broken. Internally greased. Here I have my landing gear box. It is gear driven with 2 speeds. It is properly mounted and secured on my leg and internally greased. 2 speeds are high and low. I have my landing gear shaft, properly mounted and secured to my gearbox, not bent, cracked, or broken. I have my landing gear handle, properly mounted and secured to my shaft and my frame, not bent, cracked, or broken, and it is stowed away to avoid damage to other vehicles when I'm driving. I have 4 landing gear support bars. They are not bent, cracked, or broken. They are properly mounted and secured to my frame and my legs. I have my cross member and crossbar, properly mounted and secured to each leg, not bent, cracked, or broken. I have my landing gear shoe, properly mounted and secured to my landing gear leg. It is fully raised to avoid damage to either the ground or my landing gear. And I have proper clearance between the back of my truck and my landing gear to avoid damage when turning. Up here, I have my amber marker light, properly mounted and secured to my trailer, not cracked or broken. It has a good rubber seal. Here I have my DOT red and white tape. It's 50%. It is clean, clear, and visible, and not cracked or broken. I have my trailer wall and floor properly mounted and secured to my cross members with no holes to allow cargo to fall out and cause an accident. Okay, up here, I have my red clearance lights. They're properly mounted and secured to the back of my trailer. Not cracked or broken. I have my 100% DOT red and white tape on my door. It is properly mounted and secured to my door and my bumper. It is clean, clear, and visible, not cracked or broken. I have my tail lights, properly mounted and secured to the back of my trailer with a good rubber seal. No exposed, cut, or frayed wires. Outside has 3 functions: running, turning, and hazard. Inside has 2 functions: running and brake. And they are clean, clear. Here I have my tail light, or my license plate light, properly mounted and secured to my trailer. Not bent, cracked, or broken. No exposed, cut, or frayed wires, and it is white in color. This concludes my outside inspection.